Hi and welcome to my page. So in this video I'm going to show you how to cut and sew this beautiful double bow tie dress you're seeing on the thumbnail. So let's get started. So my client asked for both colors, both the black and the lilac, but she wants her neck her yoke to be sweetheart's yoke and the sleeve to look like that of the black. So this fabric is serving as my pattern paper, and as you can see I've drafted the front on it already. So I'm going to be explaining the line. So this first line is okay, this is the shoulder line, the bust line, the bust point line, the under bust line, and the waist line. Okay, so for the half length I'm working with 18 and half, 18 inches for the front half length and half of an inch for joining to the lower part of this dress. Okay, so for the neckline, the width of the neckline is 2.5 and the depth is 2 inches. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do here is to mark out the the nipple to nipple line. So for the bust point, for the bust, the round bust is 40 inches, and for the waist is 32 inches. Okay, so I'm going to mark nipple to nipple. I'm going to mark that on the bust point line is 4 inches. That is 8 inches divided by 2. Then on the waistline, so I'm going to join this point from the waist up to the nipple, the bust point line. Then I'll go up by 1 inch and stop there. Can you see? So the next thing I'm going to do is to divide the shoulder. So after marking out your neckline, you divide your shoulder. So what I have here is 5 inches. You're going to be minusing half of an inch for joining. Remember that I've already added that while drafting, so I added extra half of an inch around the armhole to enable me join to the sleeve. So I minus that while dividing the what I have left around my shoulder. So I have 5 inches there. When I divide 5 inches into 2, give me 2.5. So I'm going to connect this point to this 1 inch I came up by while marking my nipple to nipple point. Can you see? So the next thing we're going to do now is to determine where our sweetheart is going to start from. So when you measure your nipple, your bust point to your under bust, whatever you get, you're going to mark that. You're going to mark that as in you place your tape on the nipple line, no, on your bust point line. Then you mark that up here. Okay, that is where you're going to your yoke is going to stop. Okay, so at that point you can see it's 4 inches, so I want to go up a bit by half of an inch because my client wants her, she doesn't want her cleavage to show. So this is half of an inch. I'm marking that on this line. So the next thing I'm going to do now is how deep do you want your sweetheart to be. So I want mine to stop around the bust line. This is my bust line, remember, and this is the bust point. So I'm going to use my curve ruler and I'm going to connect this way. And turn again and connect this way. So this sweetheart depends on where you want yours to be, how exposed you want your cleavage to be. Okay, so this is it. So the next thing we are going to do now is to take our darts. So for the waistline, coming to the waistline, I added 2 inches for that allowance. So I'm going to be marking 1 inch on each side of the dart line, 1 inch here and 1 inch here. So coming to the bust point, under bust, I'm going to mark, so 1 inch here, 1.5 inch on this side and 1 inch towards the center front. Can you see? So 1.5 here, 1 inch here. On the waistline, 1 inch this way and on this side. So the next thing we're going to do now is to connect the point we have under the bust down to the waistline and on this side as well. Can you see? So the next thing we're going to do now is to connect our curve, our bust curve. So remember I told you that the front waistline, the half length is 18 inches. So the back half length is shorter than the front half length by 3 inches. The back half length is 15 while the front half length is 18. So what I'm going to do now is coming to the bust point line by the side. Okay, I'm going to take the difference between the front and the back half length. So the difference is 3 inches and this is my 3 inches here. I'm going to connect it straight to this bust point here where we have our nipple to nipple at the bust point line. Can you see? So the next thing I'm going to do now is to open up this dart. This is the bust dart now, okay? So I'm going to open it up, cut out this waist dart leading to the under bust. Okay, I'm going to close this, sorry, cut it out, then I'll close the side, the bust dart. So you can see I've cut out the dart here. So for us to eliminate this dart, we're going to close it this way. And I'm going to pin it down. So looking at this side, you can see that this line is no longer connecting to the bust line. So what we're going to do is to, from here, we'll take, you measure, sorry, you draw the line to meet the bust line, okay? So the next thing we are going to do now is to cut out the sweethearts. And we'll open up this side. And cut the excess we have by the side. Can you see? So next we're going to cut our yoke. So I'm going to add a shoulder seam allowance. So this is what we have. Can you see? So the next thing I'm going to do now is to go over to the back. So there is nothing much to do at the back. All we need to do is to cut out the yoke. So this is the pattern for the back. So what we're going to do here is to cut out the yoke. So for the yoke, I'll come to this armhole, the midpoint of the armhole, and I'm going to draw a line down below the bust line. So this is my bust line and this is the waistline. Okay, from the midpoint of the armhole, I draw a line 1 inch and stop 1 inch below the bust line. Okay, this is my zipper allowance. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do here is to mark our nipple to nipple. Remember, it's 4 inches. So 4 inches here. So I'm going to mark this and connect it straight to the yoke. Can you see? Now for you to take your dart, you're going to stop half of an inch below your bust line. This is our bust line, remember. So for your dart, you're going to stop half of an inch below the bust, below the dart bust line. Okay, so for the allowance I left for the dart is 1 inch. So I'm going to take half of an inch here, half of an inch here, and I'll connect it to this point. Can you see? So what we're going to do now is to cut out the dart. So if you're not going to cut out your dart, if you want to take your dart like this on your fabric, you don't need to extend this line to this point, okay? But because I'm cutting this, I want to slash this nipple to nipple line open. That's why I extended the line to this point. So what I'm going to do here is cut the darts. Okay. So I'll slide this open. So before I'll get confused, I'll label it. This is my where my zipper will fall at, and this is the center, this is another center, and this is side. Okay, so this will enable me not to be confused while transferring it to my main fabric. And for the yoke, for the back, we'll take out these pieces we have here. So the neckline for the back is 2.5 for the width and half of an inch for the depth. Okay, 2.5 for the width and half of an inch for the depth. That's the neck measurement. Okay, so this is it for the back. So next we are going to move to the lower part of this dress. So she doesn't want the lower part of her dress to be tapered just like what you're seeing on the thumbnail. She wants hers to be like an A-line shape. Okay, so what we're going to do is to mark the 1/4 of our waist measurement. Her waist is 32 divided by 2. Sorry, divided by 4 will give us 8 inches plus 1.5 inch seam allowance. That will give us 9.5. Okay, so there we're going to mark the hip depth, which is 8 inches plus half of an inch to join to the upper part, will give us 8.5. So this is 8.5 here. So the next thing we're going to do now is to mark her around the hip. So for the hip, I'm working with hip 44 divided by 4 will give us 11 inches. So I'm going to add 1 inch for ease for the A-line shape. Okay, and I'm going to add 1.5 for side seam. That will give me a total of 13.5. Okay, so this is it here. So coming to her hemline, the hemline is 14.5. So from her waist to the hemline is 24 inches. So I added a 1 inch for hemming and half of an inch to join to the upper part of this dress. That gave me 25.5. Okay, so whatever I have here around the hip, I'm going to add 1 inch to that and mark that at the hemline. So we have 13.5 here. So I'm going to add 1 inch and that will give me 14.5. Okay, using my cord ruler, I'm going to connect from the waistline that will take it down to the hemline. So that's it. So if you want yours to be tapered, what you're going to do is whatever you have around your waist, you're going to bring that down to your hemline. Okay, then you're going to mark your actual hip. Okay, so you connect from your waist to your hip, then hip to the down part of your the hem part of your skirt. Okay, so that will give you the tapered shape you're seeing on the thumbnail. That means that the back is going to have vents so that you'll be able to walk well. But since you want an A-line shape, she will not be getting any vent around at her back. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is to cut this out, and we'll go over to the back part. So this is the back. The back has 1 inch zipper allowance at the center back. So that's the only difference between the front and the back. Okay, so I'm gonna have to transfer my pattern to the main fabric. So this is it, and also transfer to the lining. So this is the fabric I'm using for my lining. It's a stretchy fabric. So for the upper part of this dress, I iron hairstay on it. I'm not going to be padding it, it's just the hairstay I have there. Okay, so I've also cut out the yoke using the lace. And so this is the back yoke and this is the front yoke. So what I'm going to do next is to go and couple this up. Then I'll come back and show you how to cut your sleeve and the bishop collar. So I just discovered that there's a seam before the side seam on the lower part of this dress. That is where the second bow tie is attached to. Okay, there's a seam running from the waist down to the hemline, so I totally forgot to add that allowance while drafting my skirt. So I'm going to be doing the correction. That is, I'm going to do a fresh I'm going to cut out a fresh skirt using this fabric. So when I'm done drafting, I will now use it to do the correction on my main fabric. Okay, so I've gone ahead to mark out the length of the skirt. So the next thing we're going to be doing now is to mark the measurements. That is the waist measurement. Remember, we are working with waist 32 divided by 2 will give us 8 inches. I'm going to add 1 inch for the seam allowance for that the seam that will be running from the waist down to the hemline. Okay, 1 inch for that, and I'll add 1.5 inches for side seam allowance, and that will give me 10.5. So this is 10.5 here. The next thing I'm going to do now is to mark the depth of the hip. So the hip depth is 8.5 inches, and this is it here. There I'm going to mark the waist, the hip, the round hip. The round hip I'm working with is 11 inches. Okay, that is a 44 divided by 4 will give me 11 inches plus 1 inch for the side seam. That is the seam that will be at the middle seam. That is 1 inch. That will give me 12 inches. I need 1 inch for ease, and that will give me 13 inches. Then plus 1.5 for side seam allowance will give me 14.5. I hope you're following. So I'll mark that here. Then whatever I have around my hip, I'm going to add 1 inch to that, and I will bring that to the hemline, and I will mark it there. So what I did here is just to add extra 1 inch allowance for the seam that will be running from the waist down to the hemline. So the next thing we are going to do now is to connect this way, the waist to the hip, and down to the hemline. I'll still use my curve ruler. Okay, so I'll use my curve ruler to adjust the curves. Okay, so can you see? So we're going to mark out the seam at the front, and before you do that, make sure that your fabric, the right side is up, just like what you're seeing. This is my right side. So you're going to bring this pattern, okay, this very one, and you're going to place it this by the side of your skirt this way. This, why you're doing this is that by the time you slash open your skirt and close it back, it will align with the seam from this top part. Okay, so we're going to measure what we have here. What we have here is 6 inches. Okay, it's 6 1/4. So I'm going to measure 6 1/4 on my skirt and mark it. Okay, now remember that we'll need 1 inch. We included 1 inch for seam allowance while drafting, so we're going to mark it. Okay, so from the center front, we're going to measure what we have there. We have 3.5. Can you see? So we're going to be marking 3.5 down. Okay, so by the time we slash open and we hold by 1 inch, it will match up with this one. So here I'm transferring to a new fabric to recut the front. So this is how far I've gone with the dress. This is the side seam. Can you see? So what we're going to do is to fold the neckline into 2 this way. Okay, then you're going to measure your back. So the back is 3.5, and the front is 5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to be drafting the color on this fabric. When I'm done, I'll now transfer to my main fabric. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do now is to mark the the measurement for the back. So the measurement for the back is 3.5, remember, and we need 1/2 of an inch to close the back. That will give us 4 inches. So I'm going to mark 4 inches here. So at that point, I'm going to take the measurement for the front. Remember, these things are on fold. The measurements are on fold. So this is 5 inches here. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is at the front, we're going to go up by 1/2 of an inch. And we're going to make a mark there. Can you see? So the next thing we're going to do is to connect this point to this point. So using my curve ruler, I'm going to do that. Can you see? Now coming to the center back, I'm going to go up by 1/4 of an inch. 1/4. Just small, 1/4. Then I'll connect it back to this point. This will make the collar sit properly around your neckline. Can you see? So the next thing we're going to do now is to measure the height of the collar. So for the height of the collar, I'll be working with 2 1/4. Okay, 2 1/4. I'm going to measure that out. 2 1/4. So this is my 2 1/4 from this point. Measure 2 1/4. So I don't want my center front to be this straight. So I'm going to place my tape this way and tilt it small inside, just small, like 1/4 of an inch. Can you see? And I'll mark it out. This is the first line, then this is the second line. So this second line is the one we'll be using. So I'm going to take my tape and measure it to be sure I have a 2 1/4 there. Okay, so I'm going to be measuring 2 1/4, following this line. 2 1/4, 2 1/4, 2 1/4. Make sure you follow the line so that you have a perfect curve for your neckline, for your collar, sorry. Yes. So the next thing we're going to do is to connect this point. Can you see? So I'm going to cut this out. So the 2 1/4 includes the 1/2 of an inch to join to the neckline and 1/4 of an inch to close the top part of the collar. Okay. So I'm going to cut this excess out. So I'm going to label this F and this B. So I'm going to place it on my fabric. So this is the fabric. I will fold into 2 and I will fold again. Then this is how to place your collar. So this is the front. You're going to position it in a way that is going to match. The front is going to match with the fabric. Can you see? So I'm trying to make sure that I have my complete fabric, that there won't be any shortage by the side. I hope you're still following. Can you see? So what I'm going to do now is to pin this down, and I'm going to cut this out and fix it on my dress. So next is the sleeve. So I've gone ahead to cut out my basic sleeve, as you can see. So I'm going to show you how to cut the sleeve extension. That's the one that will be starting from the wrist. Okay, so for the round wrist, I have a 3.5 on fold plus 1 inch for seam allowance. That gives us a 4.5. Okay, 4.5. So this is the fabric I'll be using. The scallop. Our main target is the scallop. So I'm going to fold my fabric this way, making sure that this side of the scallop is at the center I fold this so that it will appear at the center. So I'm going to measure from here, my wrist down to this point. Okay, that will give me 4.5 plus half of an inch to join to the main sleeve. That will give me 5. Then I'll come to the back and I'll measure to this point. That gave me 3 inches. Okay, that 3 inches include the half of an inch to join to this to the main sleeve. So the next thing we're going to do now is to come to the center front and mark what we got. We got 5 inches, so I'm going to mark 5 inches here. I hope you'll be able to see this. Maybe use another chalk. We'll mark 5 inches. This is our 5 inches. Can you see? So remember that our risk is 3.5 on 4 plus 1 inch. That will give us 4.5. So this is where our 4.5 falls at. So at that point, I'm going to take my measurement down, starting from the scallop. Okay, I'll go up by 3 inches, and I will mark. Can you see? You take your measurement, start from the scallop, and go up by 3 inches. So the next thing we're going to do now is to connect this point and this point. I hope you're still seeing what I'm doing. Trying to connect it using a curve ruler. Can you see? Can you see? So this is how it's going to look like by the time we are done stitching it. You see. So that's the idea. So I'm going to cut 2 of this and fix it, and I'll come back and show you the finished look. So I'm done, and this is the finished look. If you can see it. I don't think that this video is doing justice to this dress. This dress is so beautiful. Can you see? That's the neckline, and that's the back. Can you see? You can see it's an A-line dress, unlike the one we have on the thumbnail. So for the breast cup, for the breast, I did not pad it. Okay. So what I did is to attach a bra cup to the lining. I want to show you the inside before I show you how I fix the cup. You can see the lining. It's an inseam finishing. Can you see? Neatly done. So this is the bra cup. Can you see? Just to enhance the curve, the bra shape or the breast shape, whatever it's called. Okay, just to enhance it a bit because I did not pad it. So I want to show you the inside of the lining. So this is how I stitch it. Can you see? And that's the second part on the lining. Okay, so by the time she wears it, the shape will come out very well. So why it's looking like this is because it's not padded. It's just a normal fabric that is that I iron hasty on it. So of course the box shape is not going to stand. Okay. So by the time she wears it, the shape will come out well. It's going to come out well. Okay, it's a crepe fabric, so you shouldn't expect it to stand. So she asked for 2 different colors. I made 2 dresses for her, this color and the black. So this is the black of it. Can you see? That's the back. So this net is very light. So if you want to fix a zipper on your net, you're going to iron hasty on it. It will help stabilize the net so that by the time you fix your zipper, it won't be giving you this coily effect. Okay, you can see how this one is very smooth and neat. So that's the back, the lower back. Can you see? And this is the front. This dress is very beautiful. The camera is not doing justice to this. It's very beautiful and neat. Can you see? You can see the split. So this is the back button. So this is the one I made a tutorial on. The color I used to do this tutorial. So that's it for this dress. Thank you so much for watching, and see my next one. So for the sleeve, please remember to tell you that while fixing your the extension, sleeve extension, this part that it looks like we are going to pleat it a bit so that it will relax that part. Okay, so that by the time you fix it, it will give you the effect we are seeing on the thumbnail. So that's it.